Good morning, Nigeria. As always, on this special morning, TVC has got a finger on the pulse and our eyes constantly on the streets, and we're here to bring you trending stories from across the globe and Nigeria in order to have some decent and hopefully interesting dialogue about said stories. In our first story, the House of Representatives is considering a bold new bill that could land anyone caught giving or receiving a bribe at work in jail for up to 7 years or a fine of at least 5 million naira. Now, the bill was sponsored by Paul Namchi of Enugu East Isuzo local government and 3 others, and it targets bribery in both public and private workplaces, from government offices to NGOs and corporate boardrooms. It's titled A Bill for an Act to Provide Effective Deterrence and Consequences for Bribery in Workplaces, and it is scheduled for further debate when the House reconvenes on June 17th. Now, under this proposal, offering or accepting anything of value, cash, gifts, favors to influence a workplace decision will carry stiff penalties, including jail time and financial sanctions. Public officials who are found guilty could be dismissed and banned for holding office for 15 years. Now, companies will face fines starting at 100 million naira, while directors involved in corruption could serve at least 10 years in prison. I always like to come and talk about these new bills that are being proposed. Unfortunately, a lot of these bills die in committee and they never really go past public hearings or public debates. Now, until this passes various legislative phases and gains presidential assent, it's just that, an idea, an idealistic idea. Let's take a look at social media. But it's great to think that our lawmakers, their mindset, their intent on tackling corruption, it shows that their heads are in the right spaces. At Johnson says, what of lawmakers and government officials that receive bribes from government appointees who come for budget defense and kickbacks on contracts awarded respectively? There are also levies that will be placed on companies who engage in corruption of that sort. Our Tagie says if they can give answers to theirs during budget padding and awarding of contracts and even what they collect from people seeking political appointments, position, etc., that is when we'll know that they mean what they are saying. It's like I said, a lot of these bills die in committee, and that is so unfortunate. Moving on in our next story, the Lagos state government plans to bring back the monthly environmental sanitation exercise. Yes, the one that used to hold every last Saturday of the month. Now, the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, revealed this during a visit to Idi-Araba, Orile Gamu, and Alaba Rago in Ojo. He said that the State Executive Council is currently considering reintroducing the exercise as part of efforts to keep Lagos clean, safe, and flood-free. You'll remember that it was suspended back in 2016 because of the difficulty restricting movement in such a busy city like Lagos. But now, with worsening waste issues, from clogged drainage to reckless dumping, the government is, of course, rethinking that decision. According to Tokunbo Wahab, the goal is not just a monthly cleanup, but to make environmental sanitation a daily habit for all Lagosians. I think for the longest time, we've pointed fingers at the government for the poor waste disposal system in Lagos. And I think this bringing back the environmental sanitation could put the agency back in the hands of citizens. We have a role to play in proper waste disposal and drainage management, honestly. Let's take a look at social media. Let's see how you guys feel about coming out every Saturday. At Wale Eleto says, this is a backwards idea. Lagos is dirtier on environmental days. People clear their gutters onto the roads. Instead of being innovative, we are going back to some anachronistic ideas. How do you lock down a city like Lagos for hours? And has a court not declared this illegal? Yes, the court did rule that the sanitation should be ousted. Let's take another tweet. At Femi Dawe says, I can't remember why it was suspended in the first place. The state needs to smell less. In fact, much more needs to be invested in cleaning Lagos. That is a model citizen. Olufemi is ready to come out every Saturday. Team, very, very quickly, because I know we want to get to the juicy stuff. What do you make of this? Do you think that Lagos citizens are ready to come out every Saturday and take some agency in the way that the cleanliness of the state is run?
Well, those environmental sanitation Saturdays were actually converted to compound meeting days. You know, where tenants and landlords come together and do one meeting or the other. I really like the Commissioner's drive to ensure that we have a better environment in Lagos. But I believe that better education on environmental issues will succeed more than locking down Lagos for 3 hours, even if it is once a day. And for the legislation, about taking bribes. We already have a law that speaks to that. We have not implemented it. So I would advise, let's implement this first and see how it works before we start thinking of 100 million naira fine, 10 years imprisonment, and so on.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I was looking at the consequences for collecting bribe, and I think that it isn't balanced at all. How about politicians who are found culpable at the end of the day? What is the fine for them? What will be the punishment beyond saying companies should pay 100 million, and some companies do not even have that amount? So what's the consequences for politicians? That's what I'm looking out for. It's important. And then for the matter of environmental law, I think that this matter, the responsibility should begin from the home front. It shouldn't be every Saturday at the end of the month, even if Lagos brings it back. If you do not begin from your home, ensuring that your environment is clean and the house where you stay is clean, whether Lagos State brings it back is just a waste of time at the end of the day. We all need to take responsibility. That is where it should begin from. Let's stop pointing accusing fingers at the state government. Play your part, and the state government will play its part.
Tell them, Victoria.
I completely,
Veronica.
Our CEO is called Victoria, just for some context for you back home.
Right. I completely agree with you, Veronica, because I remember growing up, my dad would always ask me to go knock on all of our tenants' door on last Saturdays of every month, and it was a very good time. It was never a meeting time because everyone was always busy cleaning up the yards, cleaning up the environment. So I feel it's good. But Lagos State has not talked about how they want to circumvent this law, because one thing is they didn't say that there will be restriction of movement. That was what the law or the court ruled on, but not on cleaning your environment, which is very key. So we need to take that responsibility. As per the bribe and all of that, I think that is also a very good one. We need to push it through, because I remember moving on one of the parts of the Lagos State, I was in someone's car and he was telling me about an experience in one of the companies. He said the man, he understands tax very well, and he paid tax on behalf of the company because he's the accountant or something. And the foreign national, in this case an Indian, as I was told, he was angry that why did the man pay that tax? That there's a way they do it when they get to maybe Abuja or anyway, there's a way they do it without paying tax. So we have a lot of people who are bribing their way through the government officials, among themselves, and we need to take this very seriously because we have to sanitize the system.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your contributions, team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In our next story, last week Thursday, the operatives of the Nigeria Immigration Service arrested Levi Obieze, a notorious Enugu-based native doctor and suspected ritualist known as Ide Play, Ide Show, at the Gbaji checkpoint on the Badagry-Seme Road. He was reportedly trying to flee the country on a motorcycle. Obieze was wanted for alleged kidnapping and several ritual killings, and he offered 10 million naira and an iPhone to an immigration officer to secure his escape. But one immigration officer, Ugochukwu Oji, from Abia State, rejected the bribe and ensured his arrest. Days later, Oji is being publicly celebrated for his rare display of integrity at an event in Muahia, initially organized to honor Governor Alex Oti. Now, applause shifted to the unassuming officer who chose duty over dirty money. And of course, this is a moment that drew praise from dignitaries and citizens alike. It leaves us with one lingering question. What would Nigeria look like if we all did the right thing in traffic, in shops, and at our duty posts? This is great to see. That is Senator Darlington with him there. As you can see, the immigration officer is walking with him in uniform. And they're actually, if you could hear the sound, they're actually not celebrating Senator Darlington. They're shouting the immigration officer's name, which was good to watch. It's good to see that integrity still exists in public service. Let's take a look at social media. Kudos to you, Officer Oji. At Comofil says, if Nigeria rewards integrity and punishes criminals, our society would be in a better state. Lack of meaningful consequences is what corrupted our system in the first place. When known criminals are worshipped, it only encourages others to emulate the same thing. Kudos to that officer. I concur. We'll take one more tweet. At Charlie Nwa says, we have failed as a country. While I commend the immigration officer for upholding integrity, I don't think that it should be celebrated, as this is a requirement to discharge his duties. This has exposed the total disappearance of integrity and honesty in today's society. Oof. Now, while officers like Ugochukwu Orji are being praised for integrity, not all in uniform follow the same path. In a troubling incident at the Onitsha bridgehead, a uniformed officer reportedly shot at the tire of a truck after the driver allegedly refused to pay an extortion fee. But in a rare show of solidarity, fellow drivers halted their vehicles and refused to move until justice was done, which caused the gridlock that stretched all the way apparently to Asaba. Now, the standoff ended only after the DPO intervened and a replacement tire was provided. It raises a sobering question. What happened to those people who don't have fellow comrades or anyone to speak up for them when people in uniform engage in this sort of abuse of power? This is very, very interesting. He shot a tire thinking something would happen, and instead there was sort of like a mini protest or a rally where his fellow drivers rallied around him and the tire was replaced. Look what happens when we work together, when we say yes to doing the right thing. Let's take a look at social media. This might seem like a small thing, but it is very, very symbolic. At Olayemi says, I hope the policeman and everyone have learnt 1 or 2 lessons from this. Power belongs to the people. They only delegate part of it to you and can withdraw it if they so wish, period. We'll take another tweet. We only have 1 tweet for that. Very interesting. In our next story, every day Nigeria experiences a clash between culture and decency. Young people often find themselves at odds with older generations due to communication gaps. The story is usually the same. An elderly person doing a job, say an Uber driver or a sales assistant, displays poor customer service, and the younger person reacts disrespectfully, leading to conflicts and sometimes even physical fights. One such incident has gone viral on social media. According to reports, a young woman ordered a cab through a ride-hailing service, and the driver happened to be an older woman who showed up with her children and their personal belongings, taking up space in the car. The younger woman, of course, felt that this was unfair and unprofessional, and they began exchanging words, which escalated into the viral video and the verbal duel that you're about to watch. Take a look.
Respectful. I asked you, your things are in the car. Where are we supposed to sit? And you said, how many of you? Even if it was one person and I don't want to see your personal belongings, you're not supposed to respond to me like that. Why should I want to see your personal belongings? Why? Why would I want to see your personal belongings? I left my car for people like you so I can make use of your service. I left my car there so I can make use of your service. I'm trying to help the community, you know.
What community are you helping? Help your life. Help your life.
And my life is very well. I'm trying to help yours because you need it. That's why you're on here.
I don't need yours. I'm telling you, as much as I need services, I'm telling you, if I don't need it, I won't be.
Generational basketballs, if I ever saw one. Let's take a look at social media. At Olayemi again, Olayemi, you like to tweet, don't you? He says, a lost generation. Our African values are being eroded and we think it's a positive change. Shame on her for disrespecting a woman old enough to be her mother this way. And shame on everyone who thinks what she did is right. We'll take another tweet. Actually, we'll take 2 more tweets. Derek says, my heart is just broken. The older woman doesn't deserve this. The country don't hard. She they try to keep up with bills. Come they chop insult from Pekin. All of you that defending that child, may your mothers never find themselves in such a situation. We'll take 1 more tweet. And I just know that this tweet is from a Gen Z. Godzilla says, respect is reciprocal. Aura for aura, ogbono for ogbono. Before I hand over to my team, I'd like you guys to please chime in if you think that you've got an interesting perspective that you'd like to share with the hashtag TrendingNowTVC. Now, team, aura for aura, ogbono for ogbono. These sorts of exchanges are very, very interesting to me because where do we draw the line between culture and customer service?
The thing is, it's very simple. You know, the request for the ride comes and you have your kids' personal belongings in the car. Don't take that ride because you don't know who is going to come. And moreover, the customer too, when you see the woman arrive with children and personal belongings, just say, madam, don't worry, I canceled the ride. And you would have avoided a whole lot of things. That's it. So, professionally, the Uber driver wasn't correct, and the young girl wasn't also correct by insulting somebody much her senior. The policeman, or was it a policeman, the guy that shot the tire?
Yes,
Aha. You know, is that attitude that I'll do it and nothing will happen. Unfortunately for him, something happened. The DPO that stepped
Absolutely.
in, yes, the DPO that stepped in and ensured that a new tire was bought and all that, will have to chew the guy's ears when they get back to the office. And 2 thumbs up for Ugochukwu. It takes a lot to say no to 10 million and an iPhone, especially when you are a government employee. 10 million an iPhone, you know, and he said no. That is integrity at its highest. And that gentleman that said, why are we celebrating him? Maybe the guy doesn't live in Nigeria or doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I guess it's just saying this is expected in the first place, so why are we celebrating? If you are meant to do your job, just do your job. But then when you have done something out of the ordinary in a situation that we are used to, you should be commended for it, and that's what Nigerians are saying and doing. But where did Levi still have 10 million? I thought at this point his bank account should be frozen. Everything that has to do with him should be under lock and key until the full wrath of the law has taken its course on his activities and investigations taking place. So a lot needs to be done. How did he even get to that point? How did he leave the police custody? Questions need to be asked, and people need to be answering questions as regards to how he got to the border at that point, because he was supposed to be under police custody. Now, talking about the young lady and the older woman, I believe that the older woman who was the Uber driver should have explained the situation and not get into a debacle or exchange words with her customer. Customer is king, as they often say. Perhaps she was not answering the questions the way the lady wanted, and then analyze her situation, express the issues to the lady. What if the lady was coming with her own family and they were headed somewhere? Perhaps she was in a hurry and she decided, you know what, I must take this ride. That was why she decided to get in and then have this conversation. We do not know the situation and circumstances also surrounding her, so we cannot totally blame her. Perhaps, yes, there are better ways to addressing these issues, but something always push someone to react a certain way. And I will want to blame the Uber driver at this point. You had to pick your children, but you needed to explain to your customer as it is. But for the other person, the policeman, he was served. He was served. So
you know, when you said, what if the lady, talking about the Uber driver and the lady, what if she had her own family and then assuming she also had children and they all got into the vehicle, there will be much more chaos than we'd seen. Yes. And you see families fighting, and at the end of the day, one will still pay the other, you know, for offering that service. I think the woman actually went above board by putting her families, her belongings in the vehicle, because these e-hailing vehicles, they have their policies, they have their rules. There's a way your car has to look like. There is a condition it has to be in before you put it up for, you know, such service. So I think, I don't know, I really do not know how to,
killing two birds with
honestly, to weigh in on this, but that's just the thing. We should always do the right thing so that we get that respect that we demand. Guys, let us give it up for Ugochukwu.
I believe so. 2 thumbs up.
He's an amazing, fantastic guy. We at TVC, we celebrate you in our own little way. And we want people like you, we want people to emulate what you've done, because it is very, very rare. I love the way you put it, Veronica. When you do something right in the midst of so many wrong, then you ought to be celebrated, even though that is expected of you. So we know that there are good guys in police force, in immigration, in what have you. Good guys everywhere.
And it's hard to be a good guy in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's really good to be good. Honestly, it's really good. It pays. You be at ease with yourself. Imagine if you had gotten that 10 million naira and then he fell sick. He will use that 10 million naira to treat himself.
All right.
Olamide, thank you for those stories.
You're welcome.